And it's setting up the meeting of a Facebook Live. It says,
we're streaming live on Facebook.
I think we're live.
Yes, we are.
Yes. So hi, Nathalie, and hi, everybody who's watching. We're here to talk about today about martial arts and awareness techniques.
We are.
Yeah, here we are. So we're happy to see you all here, and to maybe if you have questions, you can ask your questions in the comments. We will hopefully be able to see them and answer them. But we are actually here. Nathalie, what are we going to talk about?
So what we wanted to talk, and hi, I'm Nathalie. For those who don't know me, I'm a Reiki practitioner, I meditate, and I also do Iaido, which is a martial arts that has to do with swords, and it's kind of fun. And what we wanted to talk a little bit, if you are in martial arts, also about the mind. So when we start our practice, a lot of us are very much in the body and the technique, because we need to learn how to do the movements, how to do a kick without falling, how in my case to use a katana to cut is blunt, don't worry, to cut my enemy. So we're really learning sometimes movements that are not very traditional for Western people when we are in the West. And so a lot of it has to do with technique, but the way to advance martial arts is really also working on the mind. And those tools are not available at every dojo, so it's something we wanted to bring and discuss a little bit.
Exactly. So we made up a little program which will be launching on the 18th of October, and we wanted actually to talk a little bit about what we are going to offer in that program, I think. And that is actually how you build up awareness in your martial arts, whatever. Nathalie is practicing Aikido. I'm coming from Aikido, and we see how it helps us, how meditation practice, how everything we do, awareness and meditation practice, how it helps us to progress.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that a lot, again, every dojo, every martial art practice is very different, but a lot of it has to do with a place called the Hara. So in your dojo, perhaps they don't talk about the Hara, but they talk about the core. So when we're really, for example, punching, kicking, a lot has to do with the stability of the core. And that is physically true, but a lot of the mind work and energy work from martial arts actually is also based on the core. And their techniques, using breathing, using movement to actually strengthen what is your energy in terms of the core and the hara, so that your martial art practice is a lot deeper and you're bringing mind and body together, and that's what allows you to advance a lot. And I bring that a lot, but I'm not really good with technique, and I pass mostly my tests because of awareness and presence. There was this sensei who came to me, it's like, how can you have so much presence if your technique is shit? Right, I was starting, I'm a little bit better, and I was like, because I just breathe into my core and I'm really present, right? You can feel my presence. And I think that's a big part of martial arts. And you develop that either through years of practice, but there are shortcuts just by some meditations are very specific. Right?
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. And I think Hara is one of the core topics, core items, what we are going to be talking about and to be practicing, to be introducing some practice about it. But it also strengthens you as a person. It's perfect for martial arts. Of course, this is where you begin. Like when I translated into Aikido, we have usually an opponent. You have somebody where you practice with, and if you get stuck in your mind about how big he is, how quick he is, or she, usually it's a he, usually it's bigger and quicker and stronger. So if you get stuck about all those ideas, if you get in your head, get in your mind, instead of staying within yourself, in your core, in your axis, in your essence, and just be busy with the technique and with yourself, you lose already before the technique starts. And this is, of course, now we're just practicing it for, more of us, it's for fun, for fitness, for whatever reasons. But it used to be a matter of life and death. So it's like one movement and you're either dead or you still live. And this is when this is that movement which you do either from your core, either from your hara, or from your head.
So
That's for me also very important.
I love that because it's really being in the moment, not learning how not to like almost anticipate the movement, not being in the future. So you really learn how to do the movement the right timing. And as you said, like, you know, you become one with the moment. And that's very important, not only for your martial arts, but by expanding your mind and being able to be present is also that translating to your life as well. And I think, you know, this is based for martial arts because a lot of us, we've been to different dojos and there is not a lot of training, but it's something that will also percolate to your personal life, you know,
Yeah.
in a beautiful way.
Yeah.
And they're easy meditations, they are very engaging. So a lot of us see meditation of like, we're just gonna empty the mind and that's it. So these meditations are really specific to martial arts because they're really engaging. They move your awareness in a way that will build what you need, which is, as you said, you know, awareness, being in the moment, presence, all those things that we need to advance in martial arts.
Exactly, exactly. I'm just reading this wonderful book, and there the author talks about also most of Western sports and martial arts at nowadays are seen very often as sports, Budo. Huh? So very often sports, if you see football, basketball, whatever, they are sports in time. And when you talk about, he says, bring Budo back to its essence, and this is where no time exists. It's just right now, right here, and probably it sounds it is not a very new phenomena, but this is, it's not only knowing about it, it's just practicing it, and we practice it in the martial arts, in Budo. This is also what we practice if we know what we really practice, but practicing it also in the meditation just helps us to realize it even deeper, how important that is, and how much value it adds to your martial arts techniques, movements, but also to your life, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and even at an interesting level, like for example, you can go to your dojo and sometimes we have meditations like mokuso that are very short, that are for preparing, or you may have like some of the Japanese deities present in your where you practice. I know a lot of us practice in gyms, but some of us see those elements and we take them for granted. But it's also what we wanted to bring is an understanding of what those practices are.
Mm-hmm.
For example, you may have a little Fudomyo statue, which is a guy with a sword and a lasso and crazy face. You know, yes, it's a deity, but it has a lot of association with qualities and techniques that you can also use to harness the mind. So they're pointers towards a practice as well. Or, for example, a lot of us in EI, I think that's more common in EI than Aikido. We do before we become one with the sword, which is basically we put it on, we have something called mokuso. And it's basically a very short zazen and it's preparing for practice. But a lot of us don't know what does it really means to prepare for practice. We start going over like, okay, I'm going to cut better today. And it's really actually about centering the mind. So it's also like bringing the background of a lot of things that sometimes we see as some dojos or we see as some rituals for martial arts. Is just understanding what they mean, like in with all the layers, right? Not just the superficial. And I think that's quite an interesting part of the
I
training.
I love what you're saying. It's indeed, it's not just the attributes to make your dojo look attractive. They all have meaning and life, and they all support you once you know how. Once you recognize what the essence, what is the message behind them, right? I remember when I also in Aikido training, yes, we come in and there's yeah, a certain ritual. You have to bow, you have to put your slippers in a certain way, and this and that, and then okay, you learn it and you accept it. Even if as a Westerner, you think that's a bit crazy, but we do that. But when I went to Japan and I went to the Hombu dojo, which is the head dojo, let's say, of Aikido in Tokyo, and you see it all happening, and you see people, you see all these rituals get alive. You see where it's coming from. You see that it's in every temple. You put the slippers like that. Why? Because it's also an act of mindfulness. It's an act of presence. This is why you also see and read nice Karate Kid and Cobra Kai now on Netflix, and whatever you read, all those books where the great masters of the old days, they never taught anybody from day one techniques. They said first build your body through cleaning, chopping wood, and carrying water. and then build your awareness by I don't know, picking up and hanging up the jacket. It's just, or walking, putting one foot ahead of the other, learning really to walk mindful and being aware. And then you get the real training, and the real training gets down to mind training, actually. So this is where it comes back to mind training, and this is what we are trying to accentuate, that this is really the main point of the whole thing, right?
Yeah, and the good news is we're not going to put anyone to clean.
No, you never know.
Unless you want to, but I think the class will include these 4 meditations, if I'm not wrong. So the first one is really a short zazen to prepare the mind. Mm-hmm. And as Anya mentioned about letting go of the future, anticipation, the past, just being really present. There is also the beautiful variation for Aikido that has a more movement to it, which has the same purpose and is very centering. Then we're teaching a meditation that is basically to really be, increase your presence when you're performing, and also to be aware of the back. So for example, many times we have katas where the enemy is in the back and the front. So how can you create that awareness that is more 360? And that's kind of a cool thing to do, especially like, again, in Aikido, sometimes I have 3-4 enemies. Well, they're all imaginary, but you have to know where they are, and that allows you to move more precisely to do the right cut or the right movement. And then the last one is really getting into one of probably the most prominent deities from martial arts, which is Fudomyo, and really understanding what he means, and just also doing some techniques that can, and I think that's like the last step. It's almost like the senseis of the meditation will be teaching, right? That is really more about becoming one with your enemy and with your surroundings. So that will be like the most advanced step, but we're teaching the 4 of them on the basic level. It will be like your EQ kind of class.
Yeah, well, you've said everything already. There's one comment on Facebook. I see becoming one with your opponent, and yes, Nathalie just mentioned that. And but you should, yes, you can say that it's all that is about that. But where does it come from? You can become one with your opponent only if you become one within yourself. And becoming one within yourself is focusing on your hara, on your center. And yes, like Nathalie mentioned, I also thought it would be very interesting to say, because there are more trainings, maybe similar trainings, but they're more aimed at the advanced stages of training. And what we are aiming at is really to begin your practice already, because you will get there after your Shodan, Nidan, Sandan. You will get there, but it takes, like in Aikido, before you get to Nidan, Sandan, I don't know. I've been training for 11 years for my Shodan, so it takes a long time. And but I personally think that if you start already with this awareness of doing a technique and having your mind in a background, I mean, being concentrated, already training in a right way from the very beginning, it will help you. It will just help you progress quicker.
It will, and I think because we have the same thing in Anya, is like starting Sandan to Yondan, which is close to 10 years of practice. Yeah. Is when people really start feeling more the energy, the mindset, and all of that. And it's funny because I've talked to some practitioners and they don't really understand how it happens, right? So I think it's nice to start from the beginning with that understanding, and as I just said, understanding, knowing what you're doing, not just letting it happen. It's like, oh, it happened, I have no idea how it is. So the same way we learn technique, what we want to bring is that understanding of the mind and how you can center your mind with an understanding, not just by itself after 10 years of practice.
Yeah, indeed. We're just connecting. What we're doing is we're connecting our mind, our breath in Aikido, kokyu. We all know that it's very important. So we are connecting our body, our breath, and our mind. And if we just add our mind a little bit sooner at the very early stages of training, well, you will see that it will bring you much more result. in your training, in your life, all around.
Yeah, and it would be like going back to Cobra Kai, because I did binge on the series in a week. But you see it like on the Miyagi side, they're doing their meditation, which is we're not teaching that one, by the way, but they are centering the mind, right? And they're like peaceful warriors. They're like people centered and improving themselves. And even though I love the blonde guy and their team, but they're all a bunch of angry people who actually lose the center and they lose a lot of battles. So I think that's the difference. It's a great metaphor. Like, yes, you can have a great practice of martial arts, but you lose your center a lot faster, right? You go and break someone's on the back because you got upset, you lost your center. And the Miyagi team, they do the centering meditation, they connect with the breath. And yes, sometimes they lose, but they never lose themselves and they never do something stupid. And I think that that is the difference between one and the other. The Cobra Kai, they don't breathe, they don't meditate, and the Miyagi do. And that's the peaceful, wise warrior versus the angry warrior who can lose his center.
Excellent point. I couldn't, yes.
If you haven't seen this,
yes, beautifully described. And indeed, like when you're, what I was thinking, what I was finding interesting in this here is like, it's difficult to say who's a good guy and who's a bad guy, because we all have our good and bad moments and we have our good and bad sides. But it's from the core. If you go back to your core, you will know who you are. You will know how to respond to a situation, to a person, to whoever. You will find your peace of mind there, and you will never lash out at anybody. You will never have to regret whatever you have done. Because like in Aikido, we also say, okay, we train mostly in pairs. So first one does the technique 4 times, and then the other one does 4 times. So if you go angry at somebody 4 times, you will get it back 4 times. So it's better to get down to your nice peace of mind and that loving kindness that comes from it, and do the technique in a calm, tranquil way, even in a loving way, so that you can have a very, in that way, the flow happens. And in that flow, when you leave the mat, having trained in the flow and having felt connection and love and understanding of, I don't mean romantic love, but just connection, heart to heart connection to people. When you leave, when you have trained in that way, you leave the mat and you feel so good, instead of you've been training from your head and you've been it didn't go well, I got stuck here, I got stuck there, and then you leave and it's like you leave unsatisfied. So I think these are also very concrete examples of how to train, how it's what is a better way to train.
Yeah, and I love that, because it's like, in a way, I remember when I started, it was all about like doing it well, and I will get so frustrated and critical of myself that I will not advance. And through meditation, the more I meditate and you learn how to let go of like your thought, like they're there, but you don't engage with them. What's happening when I practice and I do a mistake, I observe what I did and I observe what the others, and there is less judgment. So I can stay focused on what I need to improve versus like, you're stupid, who cannot do this? And that is also a great way, because I'm basically advancing a lot faster, because I'm not wasting most of my time thinking of all the things I did wrong. I'm staying focused on what I need to improve and observing, without getting into any inner drama. And that's kind of cool as well.
Exactly. And that is also, another comment on Facebook is Zanshin, which is just like that, observing what is happening, being aware of everything that is happening, and keeping an eye on everything that's around you, being aware what's happening within yourself, being aware what's happening within your opponent or no opponent, in your case, your sword. And but then again, it all comes back to your core, to your focus, to awareness and presence. And this is exactly what we are focusing on in our presentation, and what we are going to teach, basically to teach you what kind of techniques and meditations you can use to train that.
Yeah, and it's going to be fun, engaging, a lot of hands-on practice. So that's the other thing. We will give you the background, but we'll practice with you. So you will leave that class knowing what to do. And also, after that, we always are happy to chat about, like, if you want a daily practice, how to structure it. Because some of the practices we teach are for daily, some others at the beginning, you may want to leave them for every so often. So we're happy to also help you structure a daily practice that you can have, and what to do at the dojo, what to do during the day. And the other thing, again, for me, like, martial arts has helped me so much in terms of confidence, of facing life. And I love what Fran said here, like letting go of the outcome, right? Because you're so into the process and really into the flow. But I think given the times we're all going through beyond martial arts, these are also great techniques to stay centered in times of craziness. And we all know that 2020 is the year that keep on giving. We still get surprises every day on the news. So, and I was thinking the other day, it was really crazy. I was opening the door to my apartment. I had to say 2020 actually has been not a bad year. It's been insane. But part of it is because you can remain centered through the breath and through a lot of these techniques that we're going to be teaching. So martial arts, but also like how to stay like centered in an insane year, they go, very well together. So even if you don't have a martial arts, but you have a curiosity for it and you want to come in, we're happy to share these teachings as well.
Yeah, great. Yeah, great roundup, actually. So yeah, this is what we're basically going to do. Yeah, letting go of the result. I love that point, because it's indeed, yeah, but you begin somewhere, you aiming at something, but in the end, why do I train? Just to train. This is a basic, yeah.
You're in a happier, sane country. I'm like in a more insane country. That's why, like, okay.
Yeah. But I think the more actually all these difficulties that we encounter in life, we can also see them as an obstacle, but in fact they are the path. They give us the possibility to change something within ourselves, to train, to adapt, to accept, to learn to let go, and all those nice things. Yes. So it's been a year of good practice.
Very good.
Here, even in this happy country.
Yeah. It's hey, 2020 is just amazing. It's like the year of growth. And I think the last thing I wanted to add is both Anya and I have gone to Japan to train in mindfulness, and you actually did a training for Aikido. I'm like too junior to even do that for AI. But so we have a very long-standing as well practice in Japanese meditation and Reiki. And we've both practicing, you've been practicing martial arts for 11 years, which chapeau, I've been practicing for 4 years. So we do have experience on the 3 areas, and which is probably not very common. So that's what we're also bringing together. And it's something that is pretty unique. And that's why also we became super friends, because like, oh my God, another woman who's gone to Japan, does martial arts and meditate, like there were not many. So we really like want to share that experience the two of us have with you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's nice because Nathalie is in America, I'm in Europe, so we could, we could figure out the times, and if you guys need support afterwards, we're everywhere.
She's more dangerous than I am. Don't mess with Anya. She's gonna throw you very fast on the mat. But so it's Sunday the 18th, right? Like I always get dates. It's in 2 Sundays.
Right.
When it's 10 a.m. New York
times and 4 p.m. Amsterdam time.
And it's 2 hours, so you get 4 techniques, no painting, no cleaning.
Right.
That's another Karate Kid reference.
Only practice and fun. And I will post the link here below this post, where you can find more information about this upcoming course and ask questions and whatever. We're always there. Send us an email. We will answer.
We'll be happy to. And I'll post it also on Dive Into Reiki and my personal page, so you have the info. And thank you for watching. And we hope to see you on that Sunday class. It's going to be fun. And I'll limit my references to Cobra Kai and Karate Kid. I'll promise. I'll rein it in.
It's also great references. I mean,
I know, easy, and I do binge on that. Now I'm watching Emily in Paris, which is the opposite. It's all high heels.
Yes, I have been doing that. Okay. Well, thank you, Nathalie.
And
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Bye. Bye-bye.